So I've been doing this online tutoring thing for almost 5 years at this point. I did it all throughout college, and I'm still doing it. And in this time, I can confidently say that I'm a veteran tutor at this point. I got some experience, got hundreds, if not thousands, of hours tutoring hundreds of people. So I've seen my fair share of tutoring. And in this time, I've noticed some trends, and I just want to talk about that today. So a lot of times on the internet, we hear about like Gen Alpha, and like for those who don't know, those are like the kids born between like I think 2011 and now, and like how bad they are. Most of the kids that I tutor, they're not quite Gen Alpha, but they're like almost that age. And I just want to share my thoughts on that. So one of the first things that I've noticed is a lot of these kids actually they don't use AI, like, or at least not as much as you would think, because that's something I'm kind of curious about, and I'll ask sometimes, like, do you use AI for your homework? Like ChatGPT, do you have it do it for you? And maybe they just don't want to admit it to me, but most of them say no. But they even take it a step further and they say, no, I try, like I make an effort not to use it, or some of them even say I've never used it before because they don't want to like have it do everything for them. So that's at least encouraging that there's like some self-awareness there, that just because this tool is available and it's super convenient and easy to use doesn't necessarily mean it's the best for me, especially at that age. So I'm happy to see that. At least I'm not anti-AI by any means. Like, I think it's a useful tool, but when you're learning, it's more about like training your brain and getting smarter rather than just getting an instant answer. Another thing that's kind of encouraging is like a lot of these kids they're actually pretty decent at math, and like and they make good progress as they do lessons with me. So like stereotypically you would think a student coming in to get tutored is just clueless, and I mean that has happened in the past a couple of times, but for the most part, most of my students are actually like they come in with a decent bit of understanding, and like maybe their teacher's just not that great, and I help them get to the next level. But a lot of them are like they pick up things pretty fast, I have to say. They're pretty motivated, they take notes, they ask questions, which I'm impressed because when I was that age, like if my mom made me go to a tutor or something, I probably wouldn't have been thrilled, and I definitely would not have been taking notes. So it's good to see that. Some of the questions I get asked are like pretty smart, like for solving equations or graphing. They'll be like, well, if this situation happens, like what do I do? Blah blah blah. So that's good questions. It shows they're paying attention. And the last thing I just want to say is like I do notice a good bit of like self awareness. Like a lot of students, they realize these are like weird times with all the like just the I call it the dopamine era we live in, like where everything's just trying to grab your attention. It's all about dopamine. A lot of these YouTube videos, like because I'm trying to get into YouTube right now. That's a whole other topic. This is not my first rodeo with YouTube, but I'm trying it again. But I research a lot of educational videos, see what they do, and like, oh my gosh, everything is like so geared towards dopamine maxing. Like that's just what I'm gonna call it. Like everything's like everyone talks super fast, and like they put all these like bings and bongs and booms in their videos. Everything's just trying to grab and hook your attention and like fry your brain cells, and it's meant for people that are like ADHD brain, got attention spans of goldfish, and it's like, oh, it's really infuriating, and like I know I'd probably get way more views if I did that stuff, but it just doesn't feel right because I don't know, it's just not my kind of style. And the encouraging thing is like a lot of these kids are aware of that too. They understand like the downsides of using their phone too much. I've heard people talk about that, like they're aware of it, and that just makes me like I'm happy to hear that like there's some self awareness that like we got to have hobbies, we got to do stuff, we got to read books. These kids read books that they still read. That's good. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've observed in my time tutoring. I think that a lot of the content on YouTube is way too black pilled, for a lack of a better term, or it's all dooming, negative stuff. It's all about how like Gen Z will never own homes, and Gen Alpha is stupid, and their brains are all fried, and like they don't go outside and they don't read and blah 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 blah. And at least in my experience, I would say that the young generation, there are still students with lots of potential, very inquisitive, very smart, and I'm gonna at least go against the doomer narrative. I think that um, obviously I can't speak for everyone, but the students that I've dealt with are good students, and I think the future is bright if the right people are in charge. So, anyways, guys, make sure to smash that like button down below if you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe, that helps the channel out. And I also run a tutoring company called MVP Learners. So, if you need tutoring, if you're a parent, your kid needs tutoring, just go on that link, go click on the button, fill out the form, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you have an awesome day.